I've often wondered why exactly driving around a small child in a vehicle seems to put them to sleep. Maybe it reminds them of somewhere that they've been. I don't know if it's the road and the motion of the vehicle, but this sound just was able to put me to sleep. A gravel road was particularly potent in that regard. Comes from every direction. Maybe it overwhelms our sense of hearing and quiets the thoughts that are racing around our heads. I'd like to explore a couple of sounds like this one, ones that are really elemental. Let's call them comfort sounds. What is it about them that brings peace? Welcome to Ultimate Sound Test, a podcast about how we experience sound, how we live with it, how we entertain ourselves with it, and how we create it.
Ultimate Sound Test.
All the sounds you're going to hear on this podcast are presented in a three-dimensional space. This will mean you can turn around in the sound field. You can pan around with your finger or your mouse on the video, or you can move the device around if you're listening on a phone, and you should be able to hear the sound rotating around you. Just before my son was born 7 years ago, I got to thinking about my chosen profession as a sound designer. Up to that point, I'd mainly focused on making music and sound design for film and for video. I got to thinking if maybe there was something more universal I could be doing, something that could benefit my family just in everyday life. Perhaps because of my occupation, I tend to be really sensitive to sound, and it's hard for me to ignore something. Say if there's a party going on next door, or a really loud conversation, or there's an air conditioner that's kind of squeaking in the background. I don't think I'm unusual in that respect. Now, building a better wall can help a little bit. In the end, though, it's those low frequencies. They're really powerful. They can get through just about anything. And when they do, they trigger that fight or flight instinct. There's a really good reason why when you go to the movie theater, they have a whole speaker just creating these low frequency effects. It's a bit unrealistic to think that we can ever be in a truly silent room, and actually I don't think we really want to be. So there's this idea called masking. That's where you take a more pleasant sound, something that sets us at ease, and you play it over top of whatever sound is bothering you. Oh, that's a bit better. Some people turn a fan on to create white noise. Some people buy actual dedicated machines that do this. Some people create applications for smartphones or for computers that create the sounds. And that's what I did. Chalk it up as a crime of opportunity. So this masking sound you're listening to is actually one of the sounds from my sound machine. It's my representation of what I think is a good comfort sound. If you've heard the saying, whatever helps you sleep at night, for me, this is it. I think at a later date I want to do a more in-depth dive into this sound machine and some of the things that I had to do to get it to work the way that I wanted. But if you'll indulge me, I just want to show off a few little things just for fun. So I've got a rain feature that I can turn on and off. You can hear that right now. And then I also have a tide feature, so the tide goes in and out on about a 10-hour schedule, just to add some variety. Maybe someday soon I'll get my act together and actually package this up so more than just close family and friends can use it. Comfort sounds often wind up being sounds from nature. And I guess the reason for that is the same as the reason for the low-frequency tigers scaring us out of our wits. I think when we hear these calming sounds from nature, it tells something deep inside us that everything's okay. Summer days in a Royal X canoe with a paddle in my hand. That's one of the places where I feel at peace. In this case, the microphone was right in the bottom of the boat, though, so it feels strangely detached from the rest of the world. Why don't we add in a little bit of that sound of having your head up outside of the boat? Adjust the balance a bit. Maybe add in a few birds. I think that's too many birds. I start wondering what's got them so agitated. I think it's a given that track one on anybody's comfort sounds has got to be waves breaking on a sandy beach. This recording's from Cape Hatteras in North Carolina. The magic of waves is that they are cyclical without being repetitive or predictable. That is, unless someone trying to make a background noise machine takes their favorite 2 or 3 and puts them on a loop. That's the basic idea anyway. As someone who's fallen asleep on a train, I think this sound could work. This one's really more of a subway kind of sound, but people fall asleep on those all the time. I have a brother who insists that his favorite sound is the sound of a busy city center from, I think he said, about the 14th floor window. So I tried to create that effect in this sound design. I think one of the variables is if you've got too many sirens, it starts making you nervous. Other than that, it's pretty much got all the elements. Let's end off with one of my favorite new recordings. This is the sound of water folding underneath the frozen ice on the river that runs through my city. I think that little crackle makes it extra enjoyable to listen to. If we haven't covered the sound that you find infinitely variable and yet predictable in a comforting way, post a description of it below. We'll try and find it and maybe put it on a future episode. Thank you for listening to Ultimate Sound Test. I hope you enjoyed it. We are planning on coming up with new episodes 2 or 3 times a month. Feel free to leave a comment below, give us a like, and subscribe to our channel for future updates.